but although his hands were uplifted, it seemed to me that his eyes were fixed upon our guide as ours were. While he spoke I saw her hand raised, as she had raised it when she slew or rather sentenced the witch doctor. Then she seemed to reflect, and stayed it in mid air, so that it pointed at the Khania. She did not move, she made no sound, only she pointed, and the angry words died upon Atene's lips, the fury left her eyes, and the colour her face. Yes, she grew white and silent as the corpse upon the bier behind her. Then, cowed by that invisible power, she struck her horse so fiercely that it bounded by us onward towards the village at which the funeral company were to rest awhile. As the Shaman Simbri followed the Khania, the priest Oros cocked his horse's bridle and said to him "Magician, we have met before, for instance, when your lady's father was brought to his funeral. Warn her, then, you that know something of the truth and of her power to speak more gently of the ruler of this land. Say to her from me that had she not been the ambassadress of death, and therefore inviolate, surely ere now she would have shared her husband's bier. Farewell, tomorrow we will speak again." And, loosing the Shaman's bridle, Oros passed on. Soon we had left the melancholy procession behind us and, issuing from the gorge, turned up the mountain slope towards the edge of the bright snows that lay not far above. It was as we came out of this darksome valley, where the overhanging pine trees almost eclipsed the light, that suddenly we missed our guide. "Has she gone back to reason with the Khania?" I asked of Oros. "Nay," he answered with a slight smile. "I think that she has gone forward to give warning that the Hesea's guests draw near." "Indeed," I answered, staring hard at the bare slope of mountain, up which not a mouse could have passed without being seen. "Understand, she has gone forward," and the matter dropped. But what I did not understand was, how she had gone. As the mountain was honeycombed with caves and galleries, I suppose, however, that she entered one of them. All the rest of that day we marched upwards, gradually drawing nearer to the snow line, as we went gathering what information we could from the priest Oros. This was the sum of it. From the beginning of the world, as he expressed it, that is, from thousands and thousands of years ago, this mountain had been the home of a peculiar fire worship, of which the head hierophant was a woman. About 20 centuries before, however, the invading general named Rassen had made himself Khan of Kaloon. Rassen established a new priestess on the mountain, a worshipper of the Egyptian goddess Hes or Isis. This priestess had introduced certain modifications in the ancient doctrines, superseding the cult of fire, pure and simple, by a new faith, which, while holding to some of the old ceremonies, revered as its head the spirit of life or nature, of whom they looked upon their priestess as the earthly representative. Of this priestess Oros would only tell us that she was ever present, although we gathered that when one priestess died or was taken to the fire, as he put it, her child, whether in fact or by adoption, succeeded her and was known by the same names, those of Hes or the Hesea and Mother. We asked if we should see this Mother, to which he answered that she manifested herself very rarely. As to her appearance and attributes he would say nothing, except that the former changed from time to time, and that when she chose to use it she had all power. The priests of her college, he informed us, numbered 300, never more or less, and there were also 300 priestesses. Certain of those who desired it were allowed to marry, and from among their children were reared up the new generation of priests and priestesses. Thus they were a people apart from all others, with distinct racial characteristics. This indeed was evident, for our escort were all exceedingly like to each other, very handsome and refined in appearance, with dark eyes, clean-cut features, and olive-hued skins, such a people as might well have descended from Easterns of high blood, with a dash of that of the Egyptians and Greeks thrown in. We asked him whether the mighty looped pillar that towered from the topmost cup of the mountain was the work of man. He answered, no, the hand of nature had fashioned it, and that the light shining through it came from the fires which burned in the crater of the volcano. The first priestess, having recognized in this gigantic column the familiar symbol of life of the Egyptian worship, established her altars beneath its shadow. For the rest, the mountain with its mighty slopes and borderlands was peopled by a multitude of half-savage folk, who accepted the rule of the Hesea, bringing her tribute of all things necessary, such as food and metals. Much of the meat and grain, however, the priests raised themselves on sheltered farms, and the metals they worked with their own hands. This rule, however, was of a moral nature, since for centuries the College had sought no conquests, and the Mother contented herself with punishing crime in some such fashion as we had seen. For the petty wars between the tribes and the people of the plain, they were not responsible, and those chiefs who carried them on were deposed, unless they had themselves been attacked. All the tribes, however, were sworn to the defence of the Hesea and the College, and, however much they might quarrel amongst themselves, if need arose, were ready to die for her to the last man. That war must one day break out again between the priests of the Mountain and the people of Kaloon was recognized, therefore they endeavored to be prepared for that great and final struggle. Such was the gist of his history, which, as we learned afterwards, proved to be true in every particular. Towards sundown we came to a vast cup extending over many thousand acres, situated beneath the snow line of the peak, and filled with rich soil washed down, I suppose, from above. So sheltered was the place by its configuration and the overhanging mountain that, facing southwest as it did, notwithstanding its altitude it produced corn and other temperate crops in abundance. Here the College had its farms, and very well cultivated these seemed to be. This great cup, which could not be seen from below, we entered through a kind of natural gateway that might be easily defended against a host. There were other peculiarities, but it is not necessary to describe them further than to say that I think the soil benefited by the natural heat of the volcano, and then when this erupted, as happened occasionally, the lava streams always passed to the north and south of the cup of land. Indeed, it was these lava streams that had built up the protecting cliffs. Crossing the garden-like lands, we came to a small town, beautifully built of lava rock. Here dwelt the priests, except those who were on duty, no man of the tribes or other stranger being allowed to set foot within the place. Following the main street of this town, we arrived at the face of the precipice beyond, and found ourselves in front of a vast archway, closed with massive iron gates fantastically wrought. Here, taking my horse with them, our escort left us alone with Oros. As we drew near, the great gates swung back upon their hinges. We passed them, with what sensations I cannot describe, and groped our way down a short corridor which ended in tall iron-covered doors. These also rolled open at our approach, and next instant we staggered back amazed and half blinded by the intense blaze of light within. Imagine, you who read, the nave of the vastest cathedral with which you are acquainted, then double or treble its size, and you will have some conception of that temple in which we found ourselves. Perhaps in the beginning it had been a cave, who can say? But now its sheer walls, its multitudinous columns springing to the arched roof far above us, had all been worked on and fashioned by the labour of men long dead, doubtless the old fire worshippers of thousands of years ago. You will wonder how so great a place was lighted, but I think that never would you guess. Thus, by twisted columns of living flame. I counted 18 of them, but there may have been others. They sprung from the floor at regular intervals along the lines of what in a cathedral would be the aisles. Right to the roof they sprang, of even height and girth, so fierce was the force of the natural gas that drove them, and they were lost, I suppose, through chimneys bored in the thickness of the rock. Nor did they give off smell or smoke, or in that great cold place any heat which could be noticed, only an intense white light like that of molten iron, and a sharp hissing noise